There's been a sharp rise in anti-Semitic hate crime. The Community Security Trust recorded more than 1,300 incidents last year, an increase of 36%. The most common type of incident was verbal abuse. Well, let's talk to Mark Gardner, Director of Communications at the Community Security Trust. Does this rise of 36%, do you find that surprising?
I think anybody who followed the news headlines last year regarding anti-Semitism, which seemed to keep coming up again and again, will not be so surprised by this sad news. We should put it in context, though. British Jewish life is overwhelmingly positive, but unfortunately from the year 2000, these negatives have kept on hammering against the Jewish community. Now we're seeing just over 100 anti-Semitic incidents in an average month. That's twice as bad as things were only 3 years ago.
And what do you put this rise down to?
Previously, when we've seen these escalations, it's been quite easy to pinpoint because there's been a war in the Middle East and then there's been an anti-Semitic reaction here in the UK. I think really what we've seen over the last year, three things all happening together. Constant media coverage of anti-Semitism, ironically enough, in the Labour Party, of all things. That serves to excite anti-Semites and also to upset Jews, which means that the reporting rate probably increases. Then there's also been this overall rise in racism that some people have pinned on Brexit for some reason or other. This anti-Semitic aspect here is the Jewish wave from that overall racism.
You say that overwhelmingly the Jewish experience of life in this country is positive, it's a positive one, but Jewish institutions, synagogues, schools, they're always very heavily policed, lots of security. I mean, it's almost as if the Jewish community is expecting a constant backlash.
That's the negative side of the picture. Unfortunately, from the year 2000 onwards, we've seen the escalation in global jihadi terrorism. Now, we're all at equal risk when we go to the airport, for example, or to a large shopping centre. But the terrorists have a very anti-Semitic aspect to their ideology. They've repeatedly attacked and tried to attack Jewish communities throughout Western Europe, including trying to attack British Jewish communities. So we have to take the security very seriously indeed.
And what's the advice that really is circulated amongst the Jewish community? How are they told to carry out their everyday lives? There was a point that I recall that some Jewish children that attended Jewish schools were told not to wear their blazers openly for fear of being identified.
That's a very sad day when Jewish children are told not to publicly show that they're Jewish in some way or other. We ask the community to be alert to the situation, but not to be alarmed. And I think when we have a day like today, when we reflect back on the worst ever year of anti-Semitic incidents that CST has ever recorded, it's even more incumbent upon us as a Jewish community to just reflect on what our daily experience actually is. An awareness of security, but for most British Jews, most days, weeks, months of the year, actually life is really positive.
So you don't believe that there is an underlying fear amongst Jewish people in this country?
We're keenly aware that Jewish people in this country are really worried about anti-Semitism. They've seen the rise in anti-Semitism from the year 2000 up to the present day. Previously, it was connected to events in the Middle East. Now, it's a more basic, fundamental racism. It's like a lid has been lifted off racism. Somehow we have to get that lid back on again.
And what can we all do about it, the non-Jewish community? What can we do to assuage the fears of Jewish people?
I think Jewish people are keenly aware that anti-Semitism, okay, obviously impacts against Jews, but it's something that should really concern all of society, because what it always shows is a deeper fracturing within society. So here you have the anti-Semitic incident figures. There will be similar figures, I think, for other minority communities. It speaks of fractures within society, anger within society, hatred apparently becoming more acceptable as a way of talking. Most of these incidents are against normal Jewish people just going about their daily life in the street. Racists, for some reason, feel emboldened to come out with their hatred, and that has to stop.
Okay, Mark Gardner, thank you for speaking to us.